Artist and veteran John Wolfe almost didn't survive the Vietnam War.
I was hit in the chest, and then a grenade exploded right in front of me, because there was like this silence fell over me, and I knew that my heart had stopped and that I was dead. The next thing I experienced was this sensation and an actual mental image of sort of like soft, it was sort of like a soft summer breeze, like moving wheat back and forth. That was like the sensation. Very soothing sensation.
It took Wolfe almost a 2-year stay at Walter Reed Army Hospital to physically recover from his injuries in Vietnam. When he returned to civilian life, he pursued his passion for painting.
I do a lot of pictures having to do with war and history, and I use a lot of my experiences in combat in Vietnam. The funny thing about a painting, it's like any aspect of your personality is reflected in what you do.
Today, Wolfe has an art studio and lives with his family in the Mid-Hudson Valley. He is a veteran who grew to believe in the Vietnam War and has found his own ways of coping with his experience.
My father was a social worker. My mother was a housewife, and I had a pretty normal childhood.
John Wolfe was born on December 20th, 1948 in Queens and is the middle child of 3 boys. Through the 9th grade, Wolfe attended Immaculate Conception, a Catholic school a few blocks from his home in Stuyvesant Town Apartments in the Lower East Side of Manhattan. His experience of the city made him turn elsewhere for comfort.
I always had kind of a slight terror of the city, all the energy in the subways and the factories and the smoke billowing and everything. And I seem to primitive art, and when I say primitive art, what I'm talking about are like little African statues or statues from Mexico or something. I used to surround myself with collecting, surround myself in my room. Actually, it was more than an attraction. It was almost like a need. And I just always had like a natural bent, always liked to draw.
Wolfe spent much of his early years at local boys' clubs. It was through them that he was able to attend a prep school in New England during his high school years. After his 1966 graduation from St. John's in a suburb of Boston, John Wolfe attended Long Island University.
I finished the year. Actually, I had made a deal with my father. I had told him at the time I wanted to travel, and he said, well, do a year in college, and if you still feel that way, then I won't stand in your way.
Promise to his father fulfilled, Wolfe pushed his Army draft and his eagerness for adventure in Vietnam, where the contrast with his earlier life was unnerving. In 1968, at the age of 19, he was a paratrooper, part of the 2nd Battalion, 327th Airborne Infantry, 101st Airborne Division, under the command of Colonel Charles Beckwith in Vietnam.
When I finally got to the battalion with Beckwith, there was a captain who, right before you got sent out, right before you got put on helicopters to be sent out to the field, this captain, very strong-looking, handsome man, who's standing in like in this little like room where we all were getting ready to go out to battalion, and he gave a speech. It was very similar to a speech I had at Long Island University. The first day at Long Island University, like the dean had stood up in front of us and he said something like, look at the guy on your left and look at the guy on your right. He said, only one of you will be here at the end of 4 years. You know, you'll be graduating from Long Island University. That's the statistics. Well, right as I was getting ready to get on this helicopter, this captain standing there, he started to cry, which really unnerved me. And he said, look at the guy on your left and look at the guy on the right. And he said, one of you are going to die and one of you are going to be seriously wounded. And he said, that's our statistics. And that was the first time it really dawned on me what a dangerous situation, you know, that I was in. The chopper follows rivers and stuff and flies over all this impenetrable jungle as far as the eye can see, totally out of view of civilization. It's just like flying into a Chinese landscape painting, or very stylized. People don't realize how accurate those stylized paintings are. The mist-covered mountains and the rivers and the streams and like that. And the chopper landed us, there was no place to land, so what they do is they pull into like a stream. They come into like a little valley where there's a stream, and you jump out into the water. And I didn't know what to expect. We jumped out into the water, and the four of us, and the chopper took off. Within a half a second, he was gone, and we were standing there in the middle of the stream, and we didn't know what the hell to do. And pretty soon we saw these a couple guys out of the forest telling us to move over in their direction. Well, at that time, Charlie Beckwith, who was the head of Delta Force, or who created Delta Force, at that time he had a battalion of paratroopers who were operating on the mountains between Laos and Vietnam, right up in the northern corner of South Vietnam, where the Ho Chi Minh Trail came down from North Vietnam, and all these little trails kind of worked their way through the mountains into South Vietnam. So what we did was we lived in those mountains. We just roamed the mountains looking for enemy base camps, and when we found the base camps, we would assault them, or they would assault us. A typical day would be you'd wake up in the forest about probably 5 or 6, and you'd open a can of sea rations and eat that, and then you'd put your rucksack on, which weighed about 80 pounds, I'd say, and you're usually wet, and because it rained almost every day, at least during certain months, and you were constantly covered with leeches. So in the morning you'd light a cigarette and you'd burn the leeches and have them all drop off, and then you'd load up on your rucksack, and then by radio you'd get information to travel 2 clicks to the north or 2 clicks to the south.
In spring of 1969, John Wolfe was seriously wounded in a North Vietnamese ambush.
I was hit in the chest, and then a grenade exploded right in front of me. Fortunately, as soon as it broke out, as soon as the bullets and everything started flying, I took my rucksack, which was filled with like 5 days canned food and ammo and stuff, and I pulled it in front of me. And when the grenade went off, it saved my life. It shredded my one leg, and the other one got pretty badly chewed up. And it must have thrown me about 5 feet. And I woke up. I was stunned for it must have been just a couple seconds. I was like unconscious, I guess. And I woke up on my elbows. And at first I thought I had been blown in half, because I had this really nauseating numbness from the stomach down. And I thought I had been blown in half. And I was afraid to look for a second. So rather than looking, I tried to get up on my knees, and I was able to drag myself up on this one knee. So then that gave me the courage to go ahead and roll around onto my back and assess the damage, so to speak.